Weather for Weather Geeks time here, the Thursday evening edition on November the 19th, 2015. Another balmy day today. 61 we managed to squeeze out this afternoon, a good 14 degrees above the average. But as we've been talking about, the party is just about over as colder air is spilling east, and it's going to feel much more like November tomorrow. Well, speaking of Novembers, I thought I'd start tonight with a little bit of statistical fun. When you look back at the first 18 days, not counting today, but the first 18 days of November, 2015, very high on the list of warmest first 18 days. In fact, after we get today's numbers in, we may be in a tie or maybe even alone in first place for the warmest start to November through the first 18 or 19 days. It's interesting to look at these warm Novembers and then look and see what happened during the following winters, December, January, February. So, for example, 1975, very warm November, at least through the first few weeks. And when we look at the winter of 75, 76. The winter averaged 28.3. That's very close to average. It was a typical winter in 75, 76. Temperature-wise, 1964, we had a warm November. The winter of 1964, 1965 was a little cooler than average at 26.8. So that's kind of interesting. But then you run into 1931 on this list. A very warm first few weeks of November that year. And the winter of 31, 32 was one of the warmest on record, with an average temperature of 39.2. That's a whopping 11 degrees above average for the winter. Back in the winter of 31, 32. I believe that's in second place on all-time warm winters here. 1938, another warm November. You look back at, let's see here, 1938, 39 was a warm winter at 31.6. And I'll just do one more here. 1994, a warm first few weeks of November. The winter of 94, 95 right here, a little above average at 29.8. And if I could keep going and make this video an hour long, you would see that a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times when you have these warm Novembers, the following winter, the pattern continued. You had a warmer than average winter. So we'll see how this winter plays out. Of course, our forecast is for a warmer than average winter by a degree or two during this strong El Nino winter. El Nino is not the only factor this winter, but it's certainly the strongest and most pronounced factor towards our winter weather that we expect to have coming up. All right, the clouds that we had this afternoon are gone. Crystal clear all night tonight. It'll be cold, nothing unusual for mid-November, but certainly colder than the last few nights. And tomorrow is going to be an uneventful day as an area of high pressure. I'll bring up the surface analysis here. Area of high pressure is building out across the Midwestern U.S. That high is centered right here. This is going to drift east tomorrow. It'll be a beautiful sunny day, but again, it will feel more like November. Our next storm system waiting in the wings doesn't look like much out here across the Rockies, but this is what's going to produce the first snowstorm of the year for the Midwest, and then we'll usher in some cold air and some lake effect snow for us as we go into the second half of the weekend. So let's see how things progress. Here's the GFS model. Fast forwarded to Saturday morning, our low over Illinois. Good band of snow for Iowa and maybe Chicago or just north of Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay perhaps, and then heading over into parts of the lower peninsula of Michigan Saturday morning. By Saturday evening, here's Saturday evening, our low is over Detroit, cold front marching through Ohio. It's going to be windy here, and the first thing we'll see is rain, as we will be on the warm side of this. Let me zoom in a little bit closer to our region here. We will be on the warm side of this Saturday evening, so we'll see raindrops. But then quickly the cold air is going to rush in, and overnight Saturday night we'll see a changeover to flurries, a couple of snow showers. Really don't think this adds up to much at all. Someone could get a coating, particularly on the grass, by Sunday morning. Now Sunday during the day is when we transition into pretty much a pure lake effect event. I think there'll be flurries anywhere on Sunday, particularly in the morning. But the lake effect snow accumulations will be primarily reserved for the usual suspects. Ashtabula County, to Erie County, PA, Crawford County, PA, up into Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties in far southwestern New York. The usual sweet spots for lake effect snow accumulations. Well, I'll show you what the GFS has here. As far as snow accumulations for that Midwestern storm, painting a stripe around Chicago and up to Milwaukee of at least 6, 7, 8, 9 inches, maybe 10 or 11 in some spots. Pretty good dumping of snow in lower Michigan. Then as you get a little closer to home, let me zoom in on our area here, show you what the GFS has for the lake effect portion of this. And by the end of the day Monday, there could be a little bit of leftover flurries or light snow on Monday. And we're looking at a stripe of at least a few inches worth of snow from the eastern suburbs of Cleveland over towards Erie, PA, and into southwest New York. Someone even gets 6 in there. That's a possibility. For our viewing area, far northern areas, especially northern Mercer County, could see an inch or so. I think for the rest of us, this is a non-event as far as accumulations go with the snow over the weekend. Here's the another way to look at this is probabilities. This is the European probability map, European model, showing the chance of, more than 3 inches worth of snow. And as you can see, this is kind of a coarse, display here, but virtually no chance of more than 3 in northeast Ohio and in our viewing area. Now, the chance of 1 or more inches worth of snow gets down to, maybe I-80. There's a 20-30% chance of an inch that far south. Low chance, but something we can't quite rule out. All right, that's just a look at the November temperature anomalies so far. Of course, it's been warm in the eastern 2/3 of the country. All right, for Thanksgiving week, we're still expecting a pretty benign week. Good for traveling in our part of the country. If you have someone coming into town, if you're heading out of town in a couple of days before Thanksgiving, not looking for any problems here. The week's going to start cold. Sunday we're going to have a hard time getting out of the mid-30s. Upper 30s Monday, still below average probably Tuesday. And then it looks like we do get above average around Thanksgiving time a week from now and heading into the long weekend. It's possible that these numbers are even a little underdone for Black Friday. And then after that, I do think there is a downward trend. The GFS probably has the right idea here as we transition into the first few days of December. It will be chilly, not probably harsh, but chilly at least several degrees below average for the start of December. If you remember from our winter forecast, we're still expecting December to be warmer than average and probably by a fair amount. So there's going to be cold days in December, sure, but by a good margin, December probably ends up on the warm side. Last December was too, and then of course it turned out to be a harsh winter. We're not expecting that this year, but the two winters will have similarities, we think, in that both December of last year and this year should be pretty warm. All right, 7-day forecast, everything else you need to know coming up tonight on 21 News at 11. Have a great rest of this Thursday, and thank you as always for watching Weather for Weather Geeks.